Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and this morning I'm looking at a special book in a series from Routledge, which is a Taylor and Francis group company. The book is called Beginning Human Rights Law. It's been written by Howard Davis, and there's a companion website. This is the book here. You can see the book. It's a very thin one. It's a paperback. There's the little logo for the companion website. That's the back page, spine and the back page. There's a lot of detail. As I say, there is in fact a website to go with this. The book isn't big, it's 150 odd pages long. There's the index, which is at the back. It's very much of a primer for the person coming to the subject for the first time. You see you have some diagrams which are quite useful in it. You've got a whole range of chapters, on-the-spot questions for a little bit of self-testing. You haven't got paragraph numbering as such, because what you've got with this publication is just subheadings. And for instance, you've got very brief diagrams to try and explain some of the articles that are involved in this particular area. The front of the book is there. That's the mission statement for Routledge. Then you've got the Beginning the Law series, which sets out which books they're covering at the moment. These were all produced in the spring of 2014. There are the contents pages there. You've got, again, another set of contents there, reasonably detailed. The total number of topics covered are 10. Then there's some cases, which you've got there, some legislation as well, which you've got there. And then you've got a preface. Do read the preface, because Howard Davis is setting out what his purpose is in producing this publication. You've then got something that's very important, the companion website. Do have a look at how to use this, because you've got a lot of additional tools. You've got on-the-spot questions, an online glossary and so forth. Then you have each chapter set out, a heading. Obviously you've got learning objectives, very much in keeping with modern teaching methods, this particular publication, an introduction, basic study skills that are required, and so forth. It's very easy to read. There's a nice development of human rights there. And then you've got sources of law, for instance, European Union law, which is where part of this has come from. Europe, obviously the United Nations Convention, which isn't really mentioned here, is also applicable. Then United Kingdom law itself, with essays and problems. And then at the back of each chapter you've got major texts and then a link to the companion website. I think you'll find the book very, very helpful as a primer, a beginning book for any studies you're doing in this area of law. My wife and I have looked at the book, and we've written a review, gave it the title, An Excellent First Step to Understand What Human Rights is All About. And that's really what this book's aiming to do. It's at a simple level, but I think it actually makes the sale, if I can put it that way. We say this: as Howard Davis says in his preface, human rights is an important and interesting topic, and not a day passes that there is some story in the media dealing with human rights. And Davis sets out in his excellent textbook a formidable explanation of the subject of human rights law in easy, understandable terms for what can be a difficult area of law for people new to it, because it could be superficially easy to you, but it isn't in practice. And with all the Routledge textbooks, this particular title is probably the best on the market as a basic introduction to human rights and how it operates in England and Wales. Remember, of course, it applies to the whole of the United Kingdom, the Human Rights Act. We think that there's a much wider readership for this publication as well, because it's not just for people looking to do exams, but it's for a more general readership as well. One of the reasons I consider this to be important is because it's outstanding value both in content and costs, written by specialist legal authors who know what they're talking about as experts in their field. It's very readable as well. For both tutors and students then, a decision on which textbook or revision book to use is always difficult, but we think this is one of the good ones. It will set the scene nicely for you, and then you can move on to some of the more detailed ones like the Unlocking series, which Routledge also publish. I think the format's useful too. It fits in nicely with current teaching methods, with learning outcomes, so you know what you've actually achieved at the end of each chapter. Davis also uses diagrams, tables and on-the-spot questions to make the subject come alive, and I think that does help as a sort of form of self-testing. And the companion website is an innovation for us. I think it's very helpful to merge the paper textbook with what you've now got on the websites themselves. Davis also comments that there's a great danger of seeing human rights as merely just another set of detailed, complicated legal rules. He adds that doing this may miss the moral and political seriousness which explains the special nature of human rights, that they should be legal limits, and that there should be legal limits on the exercise of power, even in a democracy. And that's really where the starting point of this is. So there's much food for thought as the continuing debate goes on. This is an excellent primer. The issue of human rights is going to be a major general election issue, clearly, in May 2015. I think you'll find it very interesting as the 21st century develops to see where we go with this. We found the key definitions, key cases and questions of particular help to those who are new to the subject, and we think the title remains an ideal first or beginner's introduction to human rights law. So thank you very much to Howard Davis. Just to remind you again, that's what it looks like. Basic blurb on the back, nice and light, 150 pages, just opening in the middle, key cases there, you see what's available. And as I say, do look at the companion website. Thank you to Howard and to Routledge for an excellent beginner's guide. I think the beginning series are excellent for this sort of work, because law can be difficult for people. This makes it simple. Thank you. Bye-bye.